We all love a good hero victory, but there's something extra special about watching an arrogant villain get completely demolished. Some defeats hit different when the bad guy finally realizes they're not as untouchable as they thought. Today, we're counting down the most satisfying villain defeats in anime where karma hits harder than any finishing move. And believe me, these moments are going to make you want to rewatch them immediately. Kicking off our list is a villain whose defeat was so brutal, it redefined what revenge looks like. From Tokyo Ghoul. Let's talk about Jason, also known as Yakumo Omori. This guy spent days torturing Kaneki, cutting off his fingers and toes over and over, just to watch them regenerate so he could do it again. He made Kaneki count backwards from 1,000 by sevens, while being systematically broken. He was a sadist who built his entire identity on being the strongest ghoul in the room, completely untouchable. But then Kaneki snaps and everything Jason did to him gets returned tenfold. When the tables turn, Kaneki doesn't just kill him, he recreates every single torture technique Jason used. The power dynamic completely reverses, and watching Jason beg for mercy after showing none himself is pure poetic justice. His confident, sadistic smile crumbles into genuine terror as he realizes he created his own executioner. The student became the master, and the lesson was delivered in the most savage way possible. Strategy, brutality, and pure satisfaction. Next at number 9, and while he may be a controversial villain to some, there's no denying the impact of his downfall. From Death Note, it's Light Yagami finally getting exposed. Light spent the entire series playing God, deciding who lives and dies with the Death Note. His ego grew so massive, he genuinely believed he was justice itself, destined to create a perfect world. But Nier and the investigation team finally corner him with evidence he can't talk his way out. Of watching Light's calm, collected genius facade crumble into desperate panic as he realizes everyone knows the truth is beautiful. The guy who manipulated everyone who stayed 10 steps ahead suddenly has nowhere to run. He begs Ryuk to write everyone's names in the Death Note, but Ryuk writes Light's name instead, reminding him that from the very beginning this was always how it would end. As Light dies bleeding out in a warehouse the same way his victims did. The karma is perfect. The man who played God dies like everyone else, scared, alone, and powerless. Next at number 8, we have a villain whose arrogance got completely destroyed in the most spectacular way possible. From Bleach, it's Noitra Gilga. During his fight with Kenpachi Zaraki, this Espada is the definition of toxic masculinity and bloodlust rolled into one. He believes strength is the only thing that matters in existence, and looks down on anyone he considers weak, especially women. His entire philosophy revolves around being the strongest fighter, finding worthy opponents, and proving his superiority through violence. He's so obsessed with this idea that he literally asked Zaela Poro to modify his body to have the hardest hierro skin in all of Hueco Mundo, making him nearly impossible to cut. When he faces Kenpachi, he's absolutely confident that his unbreakable defense and superior reach with his massive scythe weapons will guarantee victory. But here's where it gets beautiful. Kenpachi doesn't care about strategy or Noitra's defenses. He just keeps attacking, getting stronger as the fight goes on, enjoying himself. At the next spot of number 7, we have one of the most personal and emotionally charged revenge stories in anime history. A defeat that goes beyond just physical combat and strikes at the very heart of what family truly means. From Demon Slayer, it's Rui the Spider Demon, and his devastating defeat at Tanjiro's hands. This fight represents everything the series stands for, the clash between twisted, corrupted bonds and genuine, unconditional love. Rui is a demon who kidnapped children and forced them to pretend to be his family, creating this nightmarish household on Mount Naragumo, where he played the tyrannical father figure. His backstory reveals he was once a sickly human child who became a demon after Muzan turned him, promising strength and health. But in gaining power, he lost his real family, who he killed in his transformation. Now, centuries later, he's desperately trying to recreate what he destroyed, but in the most twisted way imaginable. Sliding into spot number 6 is a villain who thought he was untouchable until reality hit him like a truck. From My Hero Academia, it's Overhaul during his final confrontation. Overhaul is a germaphobe crime boss who experimented on a little girl named Eri, using her blood to create quirk-destroying bullets. His entire plan revolves around control, and he sees everyone as tools, including his own subordinates. His quirk lets him disassemble and reassemble matter, making him incredibly dangerous. But after what he did to Eri and Sir Night-Eye, Deku goes absolutely feral. The 100% full cow punch that sends Overhaul flying through the air is one of the most cathartic moments in the series. But the real karma comes later when the League of Villains shows up. Shigaraki doesn't just defeat Overhaul, he destroys his hands, the source of his quirk. Watching this control freak lose the one thing that made him powerful while begging for mercy is the ultimate payoff. And if you're enjoying this countdown, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me which villain defeat you found most satisfying. I read every single one. Now let's get back to the list. At number 5, we have a villain whose defeat wasn't just physical, but a complete psychological breakdown. From Hunter X. Hunter, it's Meruem, the Chimera, Ant King. Meruem started as this cold, calculating being who saw humans as nothing but food. His power was absolute, and he genuinely believed he was the peak of evolution destined to rule. But then he meets Kamugi, a blind girl who's a master at Gungi, a board game. She beats him repeatedly, and through their games, Meruem starts to change. He develops emotions, begins to value individual lives, and questions everything he believed. What makes his defeat satisfying isn't that he loses in battle, it's that he loses his worldview. The king who thought he was superior to all life ends up learning humanity from a blind girl. The ultimate karma is that Meruem doesn't die as a conqueror. He dies as someone who finally understood what it means to care about another person. His final moments with Kamugi are beautiful and tragic, proving that even the most arrogant villain can change. Coming up next at number 4 is a defeat so sudden and disrespectful, it became legendary. From Jujutsu Kaisen, it's Jogo getting absolutely demolished by Sukuna. Jogo is a special grade cursed spirit who genuinely believes curses should rule the world. His power is immense, he can create volcanoes, and his domain expansion is one of the strongest we've seen. He's confident, arrogant, and thinks he's on par with the strongest sorcerers. But then Sukuna takes over Yuji's body and Jogo makes the fatal mistake of challenging him. What follows isn't a fight, it's a demonstration. Sukuna toys with Jogo, casually dodging attacks, complementing his strength while simultaneously showing him the gap between them is infinite. The meteor attack that Jogo thinks will finish it. Sukuna just stands there and tanks it. Then Sukuna hits Jogo with a fire attack, so powerful it makes Jogo's own flames look like a candle. The satisfying part is watching. Jogo realized he was never even close to Sukuna's level. In his final moment, Sukuna actually praises him. Somehow makes it worse, Jogo wanted to prove curses were superior, and instead learned he was always just an insect. At number 3, we have one of the most emotionally satisfying defeats in sports anime history. From Haikyuu, it's Ushijima Wakatoshi, finally losing to Karasuno. Ushijima is the ace of Shiratorizawa, a powerhouse school that crushes everyone through pure, overwhelming force. His philosophy is simple talent and power beat everything else. He looks down on Hinata, calling him mediocre, and telling him he should have gone to a stronger school. But Karasuno proves him wrong through teamwork, adaptability, and refusing to give up. The final point of the match, where Hinata blocks Ushijima's spike. The same spike Ushijima said was unbeatable, is pure catharsis. It's not that Ushijima is a villain, he's just someone who needed to learn that hard work and strategy can overcome raw talent. Watching his unshakable confidence finally crack as Karasuno celebrates is beautiful. It's satisfying because it proves that underdogs can win when they work together. Number 2, we have a villain who manipulated everyone for decades, only to get played by his own creation. From Naruto, it's Danzo Shimura. This man operated in the shadows, making morally questionable decisions that he claimed were for the greater good. He ordered the Uchiha massacre, manipulated Hanzo, betrayed his comrades, and stole Shisui's eye. His entire philosophy was that the village's safety justified any sacrifice, but when he finally fights Sasuke, all his backup plans, all his stolen powers mean nothing. Watching Danzo use Izanagi repeatedly only to still lose is satisfying, because it shows that all his stolen power couldn't save him. The real karma is that his death accomplishes nothing. The village he claimed to protect doesn't mourn him. Nobody remembers him as a hero. He dies knowing that all his sacrifices, all his manipulations were ultimately meaningless. He wanted to be Hokage, wanted to be remembered as the man who saved Konoha, but instead he's just forgotten. And here it is, the number 1 most satisfying villain defeat in anime history. From Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, it's Father's complete destruction. Father is the ultimate villain with a god complex. He created the homunculi, manipulated an entire country, and planned to absorb God itself to become perfect. His arrogance knew no bounds, believing he had transcended humanity. But the promised day exposes him for what he really is, a parasite who took everything without giving anything back. After absorbing God, he thinks he's won, but then truth appears. The entity that governs alchemy literally drags him back down to reality, stripping away everything he stole. Father begs, screams, and tries to hold onto his stolen power, but it's useless. Then Edward delivers the final blow, not with alchemy, but with a simple punch. A human fist beating a false god is the perfect ending. What makes this the most satisfying defeat defeat is the message Father tried to become perfect by removing his humanity, but it was his lack of humanity that destroyed him. Meanwhile, Edward, who embraced his flaws and weaknesses, wins. The man who wanted to be God gets dragged back to the gate, screaming, while the boy who accepted being human stands victorious. That's peak karmic justice, and that's the list. These defeats weren't just victories. They were moments where justice hit exactly as hard as it needed to. Which one did you find most satisfying? Drop your pick in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We've got more anime countdowns coming your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.